Are you pre-diabetic? I want you to know right now that pre-diabetes is not a warning sign that something might happen someday in the future. It's diabetes already in motion. And the other thing I want you to know is that diabetes is not a metformin deficiency. It's usually caused by carbohydrate overload and insulin overload. So, prediabetes and type 2 diabetes doesn't start when blood sugar finally gets flagged. This is a problem that goes on for years and years and years prior to the diagnosis of prediabetes or diabetes. And the biggest problem is blood sugar. So, blood sugar is made of glucose. Glucose comes from carbohydrates. And when people talk about blood sugar, what they're really talking about is serum glucose or blood glucose. So, insulin is the storage hormone that helps to move the sugar out of the bloodstream and into your cells. It's like the shuttle, it's the carrier that moves the blood sugar into the cells. And first and foremost, it prioritizes muscles, but also many of the more energy starving cells like brain tissue, heart tissue, things like that. So what prediabetes means is that your blood sugar is already drifting up kind of higher, but not yet high enough to meet the cutoff for diabetes. So you have to understand that insulin has been elevated for a very, very long time. And if that insulin remains elevated for a very long time, it's desperately trying to push that blood sugar into the cells. And it can't do that when your cells become insulin resistant. Insulin resistance basically is your cell telling the insulin, hey, I hear you knocking on the door. I hear that you want to come in and you want to bring the glucose with you, but I'm already stuffed with glucose. I already have plenty of energy inside me, and I don't want to allow you in. So the cell kind of pushes back and says, nope, I hear you knocking, but I'm not listening. Prediabetes is that process where the cells are so energy filled that they're starting to say, hey, look, I can't take any more energy and I can't take any more glucose to burn. So you're going to have to do something else with it. And the cutoff A1C level, which is a long-term monitoring of blood glucose in the bloodstream, is from 5.7 to 6.4% for pre-diabetes and 6.5 or higher for type 2 diabetes. So you may be saying to yourself, well, why is the insulin so high in the first place? Well, the reason is because of the wonderful diet we eat in America and many places around the world, especially places that have been modernized or westernized. So, carbohydrates, especially refined carbohydrates, are the key to why so many of us are obese, why so many of us are becoming pre diabetic and diabetic. Carbohydrates are the primary nutrient that raises blood sugar the most. You do get some elevation of blood sugar from protein and almost none from fat, but a little bit maybe from fat through a process called gluconeogenesis, which is where your body takes these other substrates and actually turns them into sugar. But carbohydrates, all carbohydrates break down into sugar. So that's either, sugar that you're eating, but it's also things that most people don't think about. It's pasta and bread and even complex carbohydrates like oatmeal and stuff like that break down, all of them break down into sugar. Even vegetables, vegetable matter, at least the part we digest, it's a carbohydrate. It breaks down into sugar eventually. So if carbohydrates drive blood sugar elevating and you're eating a ton of carbohydrates, that causes the insulin to stay elevated for long periods of time. And especially if you're snacking all the time and you're never giving that insulin level a chance to drop, then this complicates the situation. So if you're constantly feeding your body and you're constantly giving it carbohydrate, which is the primary macronutrient that most of us are eating, and if that happens all day, every day, over years, insulin will stay high and the body becomes resistant to it. Not only, worse yet, That high insulin level also doesn't allow you to tap into your body fat stores. So if you say stopped eating all those carbohydrates or stopped eating entirely, insulin has to come way down before you can even tap into body fat for energy. So you're basically telling your body by eating carbohydrates all day that you're not going to need any of your body fat. You're going to utilize the sugar and the blood glucose that's coming in through all of these multiple meals and snacks. So this is why diabetes isn't just a blood sugar problem. It is primarily an insulin problem. And here's the big take-home message is that your doctor, the traditional conventional medicine doctor is looking at blood sugar. That's their primary focus. And unfortunately, that's looking through the wrong lens. Um, Elevated insulin is the problem that occurs first, and insulin resistance happens decades sometimes before you start spilling the blood sugar out into your urine, where they typically will find it, or you get a blood test and you see your blood sugar is elevated and it's elevated consistently. So, and that raises your A1C level. So you have to understand and you have to pay attention to the fact of what is it that I'm eating? Am I eating very frequently and am I never giving my insulin levels a chance to drop? So every carb meal, every carb heavy meal is like ringing the insulin doorbell. At first, the cells answer. You know, they hear the door, they hear insulin knocking at the door, and they open the door and they allow insulin and the blood sugar to come in. But over time, they stop answering, and they stop answering as well as they used to. So the body rings louder by making more and more insulin, and then eventually the pancreas can't keep up, and then blood sugar begins to rise. And really, diabetes is the end stage of insulin resistance that's been going on for a long time. So why does this matter? Why is high insulin a problem?